So welcome to the Westman Islands. A little bit of a technical problem earlier, but of course we are trying out different things, so bear with me. So we're gonna be live driving here around the Westman Islands. I know there are a couple of places that are like dark zones here, so probably I'll drop the feed a couple of times. Sorry about that, but I'll start again as soon as the network will be available. My name is Valur. I run a tour company in Reykjavik called in Reykjavik. We do walking tours and experiences in Reykjavik, like food tours and beer tours and folklore and everything. But this is my hometown actually here, the Westman Islands. And raised here, and I just want to show. So that's the holy mountain. That's the fiery mountain, Eldfell and Helgafell. And then we have the small town over here. Just 4,200 people that live here. So it's a pretty small town, a fishing village. And yeah, relied on fishing basically since the settlement. Maybe here in the distance in the middle you can see the graveyard that I posted a picture of, the beautifully lit graveyard with the colorful crosses before Christmas. And yeah, we're gonna drive around the island, and I'm gonna tell you maybe some folklore, tell what historic events have happened here in the Westman Islands, and a couple of fun facts. Sorry for the disturbance earlier. You know, I'm sometimes the system doesn't work. It's 2020 after all, so you have to get used to that. Things don't go according to plan. And so there was a big volcanic eruption here in 1973, and that's the volcano that came out of that. Don't click any links by these. Sorry for using that word, bastards that are asking you to click a link. It's just scammers. So this volcanic eruption here, 1973. I'll tell you more about that when you visit a museum later on. But one of the most noteworthy things that came out of that eruption was that they were using water to cool down the lava over here. These are machines that were used to cool down the lava because they were trying to make sure that the lava wouldn't flow from the mountain. Sorry for the quick turn. And fill up the harbor over here. I'm going to show it to you later on, but basically the lava was flowing from the mountain and here filling, and until they came. Oh, I wish I could just ban these guys that are spamming. Pretty boring. So I'm gonna work on that, how to get rid of them. But so they were using water to cool down the lava, and it became really it was all over the world talking about the news how they cooled down the lava here. And here's a little bit backstory of that. So here's a little bit map of the Westman Islands. And so that's the volcano that erupted here. So like 2 square kilometers of the island was made basically in 1973. So it grew a lot in that volcanic eruption. And we're going to drive a semicircle here around the island, go to the most windy place in Europe called Stonehöfði over here. We're going to check out a cool valley over here called Harol. And the Westman Islands are actually a cluster of islands, like It varies if people say 15 or 18 islands. And I just want to point out this one over here real quick. So this one over here, Surtsey. We're gonna get to know a little bit more about that island later on, because it just came to be in 1963. Pretty there was a fissure under the sea, and slowly this island came into existence in 1963. So it's worth to know the story, and I'll show it to you later on at the museum, more about that one. It's a fun walk to go up there. Maybe I'll do a later live, just have a walking tour up there or down there. And it's also fun to walk on top of this one over there, called Heimaklettur. So the Westman Islands are actually pretty young, so geographically speaking, like 10,000 years, the main island. But the oldest part is about 40,000 years old. So just keep in mind, like Iceland is a very young land also, just 16 million years old. So you can imagine just 10,000 years old or 40, the big rock over there. So a relatively young country. But like I told you earlier, I'm probably gonna be disconnected at least twice because of there are a couple of dark spots here, and so we will probably get disconnected over there. So I'm sorry about that. But I'm gonna into the car, and as I said, we're trying out different things. So yeah. So we're gonna try to drive real slowly, just so no one gets dizzy. Yep. So we're gonna go to a place called Flakkarinn, or the Wanderer. So that's the main area where they were trying to cool the lava over here. This Wanderer, or the Flakkarinn, was threatening to close down the harbor. So they had boats in the harbor and machines and everything, just trying to cool down the lava, and it worked to slow down the lava flow. And it became really famous here in a couple of movies, like Pierce Brosnan movie called Volcano. They used, I think it was in LA that they were, and here in the distance you can see Eyjafjallajökull, the mountain that erupted here in 2010 and stopped all air traffic in Europe for about a month, costing 20 million travelers to be stuck because of Iceland. And yeah, a couple of people were kind of angry with us because of the volcanic eruption, like we had anything to do with that. And we had so much fun listening to all the news anchors from around the world trying to pronounce the name of the volcano. So they were of course treating the name pretty badly. And yeah, we had fun listening to them. Whoop. So once, well, for years after the volcanic eruption, actually people used to, you could bake bread here in the lava field. So you would just dig a small hole, and then you would put a pot into the hole and visit it a day later, and then it would be cooked. And especially the special rye bread that we have called rúgbrauð, or brown red bread, but sometimes called geyser bread or lava bread. And yeah, so this was used for a long period of time. So just cooking, you'd just come with your pot into the lava field and let it simmer there for a day. If you have you tried that, the rúgbrauð, the rye bread, brown rye bread, sweet rye bread that we have? It's beautiful. Nothing better than 2 slices of that with some Icelandic creamy butter and cheese, or maybe some like Christmas herring, for as we are in the season for that now. So hello Jean, hello Monica, hello Jean, Nancy. I'm seeing the comments. I'm hoping. I think that the comments are not visible on your screen now. That's one of the things that I'm trying out now to make sure that we are rid of that, so it doesn't cover all your screen. So that's the island again. Yeah, it looks like it. There's no. Okay, let's stop over here. So these 2 islands over here. Unfortunately, this. I'm gonna step outside. So you can see maybe the houses here on top of these islands. So the further one, that's sometimes called the most isolated house in the world, but yeah, not really. This is just a hunting cabin, and it's used to, especially when they were hunting for puffin and sometimes auk and birds in the summertime. So people go there and spend maybe a week and just relax, more maybe drinking beer and having a merry time with your friends than maybe hunting, but that's another story. So that's Eyjafjallajökull. So yeah, someone you said they just gave up. They called it Mountain E or E15, but I think it was CNN that just gave up and they called it Kevin. Yes, Kevin. They just they didn't want to say Eyjafjallajökull in every news. So this is the harbor that we're talking about. So this entryway here to the harbor. Westman Islands are one of the biggest fishing villages in Iceland. So you know, really vital to our survival, basically, to have these. I hope the wind noise is not too much. And I just want to show you here. Here's a really nice cave here where you can listen to some. It's great to listen to some music. And then we have this Klettsvik over here. Became a little bit famous in around the year 2000 when Keiko, the famous orca from the movie Keiko, resided here for 5 years while he got adapted to natural life, and when then they released him. And now we have 2 belugas over there called Little Grey and Little White. So there's a beluga sanctuary now here in Iceland, here in the Westman Islands, and I think they're gonna try to get more. Yeah, Keiko was actually caught here, not far from Westman Island. So this is like his habitat, or where he was caught originally. And it's very popular to go up on top of this mountain over here called Heimaklettur. It's a bit of a hike, but they have put ladders and all kinds of stuff to make it a little bit easier. And sometimes, in the summertime, there are sheep grazing there on the top. And the further side of that, actually, that mountain over here, Heimaklettur, there's a place over there called Dufttekja, because according to the stories, the name Westman Islands they are named because they were Irish slaves that got killed here. So according to the Book of Settlement, if I remember correctly, it tells us that there are 2 brothers that decided to move to Iceland from Norway, fleeing taxation and from the Norwegian king, and they decided to settle this land to the north, and nobody had settled it. And And one of the brothers got killed by his slaves, and the other one, Ingólfur Arnarsson, the first settler of Iceland, came after them here to these islands to the south shore of Iceland and killed them here. So they are named Westman Islands ever since. So I have played countless times here in these lava fields over here. This was like I would go out in the morning, have a hearty breakfast, and then just play and play and play. And then when the sun went down and dinner time, then finally I went home. I was fishing and just playing here in these, there are small caves here and there, and it's a lovely playground. Þakka þér fyrir sömuleiðis, Karolis. So there's actually a green field over here. There are a couple of older people that decided to make a garden here in the middle of the ash and lava here, and everybody laughed at them because they didn't believe that anything would grow here, but their persistence paid off, and there's a beautiful garden here in the middle of the lava. I'm not going to check that out today, but maybe later. Yeah, it's a beautiful. Look at that moss. One fun fact: there are more types of moss in Iceland than plants. There are just over 400 types of plants, but over 600 types of moss, all kinds of moss. Takk, Jorun. So I'm having several messages from people like stuck because of COVID somewhere in the world, and I was just so inspired by all the messages and people loving to travel from their home. So I kind of like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Focus a little bit of energy for the next months or years or year. But yeah, I'm sincerely happy how people are grateful and showing appreciation. And so next Saturday we're going to have witness the Christmas in Iceland in the old days. We're going to go at 3 p.m. GMT. We're going to check out a museum called Árbær Open Air Museum. Slow down here and to the right, and yeah, we're going to see how Icelanders celebrated their Christmas in 1950s and 1850s. So I like these two black houses. They are actually pretty new. Oh, so this church over here was only built around 2000, and so Norway gave us this church to celebrate that there was 1,000 years since Iceland became a Christian nation. And they gave us this Stavkirkja, stave church. I like the view of that. I held a boy here for baptism. For some reason, somebody trusted me with being a godfather. So let's park here. I'm going to take a little bit of a stroll here. That's one of my favorite places on the island. This lighthouse, small lighthouse over here, that guards the entrance of the harbor. I was always here with my small fishing rod and fishing pollock and some small cod, and then I sometimes gave an old woman the fish that I caught over the day because she had many cats. She was a cat lady, and you know, my responsibility was keeping the cats fed. And once, the first time I went to abroad, I went to Mallorca in Spain, and I was about 11 or 12 years old, and we bought a small boat used for the swimming pool in at the hotel, a really small boat, and of course I packed it when we went from home, and it was just like two layers, like two layers for the air, and I put it over here, and I was fishing here with all the hooks, so I could easily, with no safety vest or anything, like I was fishing here in the harbor. And one time the ferry of Iceland, of Westman Islands, the Harol was coming here, and I was fishing here. I was so busy. There was so much fishing to be done. I was here in the middle of the harbor, and all of a sudden I hear a big behind me, and that's Harol, just you know, like maybe 100 meters from me. So I rowed for my life to the other lighthouse over there basically to save my life. Crazy kids, right? And I just want to point out this structure over there. This was the defense structure for the harbor, because it plays a part in the later part of our journey here. I'm going to talk about the so-called Turkish robbery, or the robbery of the Turks. They were actually from Algiers, but that's another story. But there was a pirate attack here in 1627, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But so they had cannons over here, so they were guarding the harbor. So that's the reason why the pirates needed to find another way to come ashore here in the Westman Islands. I'm going to show you to a little bit later on. Sorry for the quick turns. I'm always forgetting that I'm learning a lot about how best to present this to you, to make it more enjoyable. And what kind of fish did I catch? I caught pollock, small cod, sometimes yeah, just smaller fish, but mostly there was a lot of pollock here in the harbor. But the Westman Islands are actually, yeah, like I told you earlier, like one of the biggest fishing harbors, like second biggest after Reykjavik, I believe. And they rely a lot. There are rich cod and haddock fishing grounds here. So that's the skansen, like we call the defense structure that was here. You see the white over there? This was the old swimming pool, covered by lava now. So the lava actually just covered about 1/5 of the houses here. 400 houses went under the lava field in the eruption here, 1973. We're gonna go to a museum called Eldheimar, or the fiery world, and we're gonna see more about that. The temperature is about 4 Celsius. Always having a hard time changing it to Fahrenheit. 4 Celsius is about 40 Fahrenheit. Even though I've guided thousands of Americans. I'm still having problems with the Fahrenheit. I don't understand. Don't understand that. Sorry. So a lot of fisheries, and they are, they heavily rely on fishing here. There's a little bit of wind gushing here, a little bit of a cold wind, but nothing too bad. My little brother is driving, Aulos. My little brother that lives here called Svan.
Hello.
Or Swan. All names here in Iceland have some kind of there's a lot of development here in the downtown, so we're gonna go here to the small fishing harbor for the small fishing boats. I went out with my stepfather here, like 10 years old, fishing on a small fishing vessel like this that you see here in the harbor. Puking a lot because was not accustomed to the sea at that time, but that came, eventually you kind of got used to that, everything. Barbara says hello, Svan. Sonur.
Hello.
That's the old ferry to the island. It takes about now it takes about 35 minutes to go from the ferry from Iceland. Used to take 2.45 minutes, 2 hours 45 minutes, but now it only takes 30 minutes because we built another harbor here. Puffins are of course really important to the island. Biggest inhabitant of puffins in the world. They say it's probably about 1.1 million puffins here on the islands, and hunting puffins was once really a great source of food, and but there's not much hunting anymore because we can see a declination in the puffins today. Yeah, can you imagine? So seasick if you were in that kind of a boat for 3 hours in a bad, rough weather. I remember a ferry ride to Iceland with my school. It was horrible weather for 3 hours, and it took 4 hours then because the wind was against the ship for the whole time. So yeah, that was not the best experience, not my fondest memories of that boat. Yeah, so the puffin, the puffins have left now. They are just here in the summertime, like April to September, August, September. So that's the new ferry. It's electric, which is really cool. We are using the electricity, cheap electricity that we have, and trying to import less of fossil fuels to Iceland. Iceland is the second, I think, largest. We have the largest amount of electric cars per. We love to use per capita, like I've probably mentioned before. Per capita, being easy to be best in many things per capita, and more puffins. Rose, this is more south. Westman Islands are to the south of Iceland. So yeah, there are northern lights. There are northern lights all around Iceland. Not greater than, and it's not greater. There are not greater northern lights to the north or than to the south. It's just all over Iceland. We are in the midst of the current, so to speak. Yeah, so there is a really fun activity. People come actually from Reykjavik. People like me with families. I brought my 2 boys, my family here last beginning of September. So there's a puffin patrol. Or we are saving the puffins, the small young pufflings that are flying into the town. So the puffin parents leave the young ones in the late middle of August, and then the young ones figure out that they need to fend for themselves, so they crawl out of little holes after a while and fly out to sea. But some of them get scrambled by the lights from the town, so they are flying into town and they are stranded everywhere, and so people are then driving around catching them. Usually the kids love to catch the small puffins, putting them into cardboard boxes and then release them out to sea. Best place to see puffins in the summer months, I would definitely recommend for you to check out the Westman Islands for sure. But to the South Shore, to there are islands to the north also. Kids are rescuing these puffins, small puffins, and it's a really beautiful activity. So I want to point out, you don't see it here, but here in the middle of the cliff, it's called Sprangan. So people practice cliff rappelling over there. So they are, because in the old days, one of the vital things of surviving was basically cliff rappelling, catching some birds' eggs and stuff like that. So the young were practicing on this cliff before they went out to the more dangerous areas, trying to climb and then swing from one side to side. So it's a fun activity today, but it takes quite a lot of strength actually. So next up we're going to check out a place called Herjólfsdalur, or the Valley of Herjólfur. So some say that there were Irish monks here before the Vikings here in Iceland, and Westman Islands were one of these places that these papar, we call them Irish or Gaelic monks. There are tales that taught about the Ultima Thule. So that was like the where you could be basically like a hermit or live in isolation just with God, and a lot of people they have found there are a lot of names related to these Irish monks, and but for some reason after the Vikings came they just disappeared. Not sure what happened there. Did they leave? Did the Vikings just simply say goodbye or what? So the first settler of what the Westman Islands is, according to the Book of Settlement, is called Herjólfur. And we have a folklore or story about him and his daughter Vilborg, I believe she was named. So today we celebrate like a 3-4 day music festival here in this valley. It's in the beginning of the first weekend of August usually, or always, and all the most popular bands in Iceland are playing in this festival. I'm not talking about Björk or those as big as that, but the popular bands that are playing here, like in the radio. And so people come, I'll show it to you more later. So people come from all over Iceland to so the total population of the island is 4,200 people. It's estimated like every year there are about 15,000, goes up to 18,000 people that come to the island and celebrate with us, called Þjóðhátíð, or the National Festival. So it's a 3-day. Is it active? Yes. Yeah, we have about 30 volcanics in the system. So Eldfell is still active. I'm still getting used to just answering to random. Yeah, let's just take a small. So let's just stop over here. So I mentioned the folklore story earlier. So there is a Viking home here by Harol, and according to the story, Vilborg, his daughter, was always feeding a raven that was fluttering around the farm. And they got, he was saying that she shouldn't feed the raven, and she kept on doing it. And some months passed, but then finally Vilborg was tending to the sheep, and the raven kind of like tricked her to come along with her. Like he was approaching her and then going further away, and she followed him. And eventually there was a big like landslide that fell on the farm, and she was the only one that escaped because the raven saved her. Yeah, there's a lot of camping here, and there are like white tents all over here when this Thjóðhátíð, the national festival, is, and that's the stadium where they're playing, and they're playing into the field over there. And I'll show you some pictures later. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful sight. And then they have like bunker tents over here, like for food and music, and then there's a big bonfire here on top of this small hill here in the middle. So there's like a big ending to each day here. Like there's a bonfire on Friday at 12 p.m. And then there's like a fireworks show on the end of Saturday, and then there's a firework and bonfire and some like singing. Everybody singing along together to some old Icelandic tunes and some foreign. So I mentioned earlier that we are probably going to be cut off a little bit later on because we have a dark zone for the 4G. So I just want to mention that, because if we get cut off a little bit later on when we are getting close to the Stórhöfði, the cape of the big cape, or what? How to translate that? Well, big head, Cape of Big Head, but. Yeah, and so there's a black spot or dark spot there for the 4G, and so probably get disconnected. So this is the golf field of the Westman Islands. And yeah, this is taking a little bit longer than I suspected. You know, of course, when I start to talk about something and tell stories, it takes time. Yeah, this was not on the plan here to do this live drive. I'm just visiting family before Christmas, as I will not be able to. I'm gonna celebrate the Christmas time with my family in the Reykjavik. So I was just visiting my mom, who's at the hospital, and my family here. And but you know, a lot of people were kind of sending me messages and stuff like that. So I just, yeah, what the heck, let's try it. So I'm not sure if you see it. I'm gonna try to zoom, but so there's, okay, it's not very good, I think. So this is called the elephant here in the middle. I'm not. I think you see it a little bit when you get a little bit further. Then we see it properly. So there's a lot of photos being taken of this elephant over here. Do you see it at the end of the cliff? Slowly coming into view. I'm gonna drop a little bit further out. Yeah, I think the view is better over here, of course. Sometimes I should just stop talking and let you just enjoy the view wherever you are. These islands over here to the left hand side, it's rooster, and then we have chicken, and then Hrauney or Lava Island. Yeah, there are a lot of faces, Judy, everywhere in Iceland if you look close enough. Yeah, there's obviously a little bit of a delay. When I see your comments, I think they are about maybe 45 seconds after you posted them, probably something like that. So there are more clusters of islands. There are groups of people, like guys, or usually guys, that are like belonging to this island or that. I'm part of the Brandur Island group, and yeah, so they are like hunting partners, and they me too, Patty. I see many different things in the mountainsides. It's very easy to feel like the whole world is watching you, or the hidden world. Yes, sir. Yes, I'm. That's one of the things that I have ideas for 30. You know, I have 30, 40 now ideas for things to do with you guys, show you and talk about it. So yeah, there are so many ideas for you to witness more of Reykjavik and Iceland with me, and some sometimes I will just be home and talking about the folklore of Iceland, or some, who knows where we'll end up. Now, Barbara, we are we call Iceland North Island, so that's the other way. Okay, so maybe I'm losing. Yeah, we'll probably get some lags over here. So a little bit slower here while watching the Icelandic horses. Brilliant. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, please do. We haven't been really guiding since March, so we need all the work we can get when finally this is over. Hi Judy, I think this is going to be recorded, so you can watch it afterwards, so you can catch up if you missed the beginning of the video. So you can so you should be able to just rewind and check it out. So that's like the big head, and now we're approaching the the black spot. So maybe I'll get disconnected, so you know about that. black spot, dark spot, or 4G connection not available. And this is the most windy place in Europe. Some say the wind. Some of the gales have reached 128 knots. So that's around 210 meters per second. So that's actually like a hurricane level 5. So are you still with me? It looks like it. So we just passed the dark spot, or the blind spot. Yeah, Lisa, you should definitely put Westman Islands on your bucket list. It's a perfect couple of days, maybe stay one night or 2 nights, and enjoy the sights. Take it a little bit slow. Don't rush it. Great, you're still here. That was the first blind spot, and there will be another one later on. So a lot of Icelanders love to go to Spain, in the summertime after the 1980s or something like that. So one of the popular places was called Costa del Sol in Spain, and this here beach is called Costa del Klauf when it's sunny. So that's a popular place for the families of the Westman Islands to. Well, I'm going to show it to you a little bit later when we just go top, when we see it a little bit better. But it's a black sand beach. Yeah, there are enough hotels and accommodation on the Westman Islands, so yeah, there should be no worries to stay somewhere. I've been here a couple of times with my family, just playing here in the beach, and just relaxing a little bit, hearing the waves crash and having fun with my older one, 5-year-old. He loves to climb in the lava here by the beach, and we were discovering the small creatures under the stones, and some dead birds, and just discovering the world. Okay, great, Judy. Okay, it's good to know. It's good for me to know about if there's, because if I do this again sometime, it's good to know where there are dark spots, where I have to watch connection, and yeah, because I'm gonna try out a couple of different streaming options. There are 2 software at least that I've yet to try out, and I'm gonna do that maybe with a shorter video. So we're going to the top of this windiest place in Europe. For years, the weather station, or the station that predicted the weather or told about how much wind there was always stationed here in this, on top of this cape here, and it always gave a lot more wind than, of course, downtown, because it's a high point of the island, one of the high points of the island. So the weather wasn't really correct if you compared it to what the weather was really like in the small town that's over there. And we're to like I told you, we're to the south. We're looking north now, and we're looking north now, not to the island, and this cape is to the south. So I'm just gonna check out a little bit. So that's the Eyjafjallajökull over there. the mountainee. I'm just going to show you here this plaque over here. So you can maybe freeze it later on, or there are a couple of interesting facts here about history and birds and the weather. Yeah, always a lot of wind here. It's the windiest place. So here they're basically saying about the Irish monks, and it's believed that the first church of Iceland was built here in the year 1000 by some people on behalf of Olavur, the king of Norway. So that's why the church was built here later on in the year 2000 to celebrate 1,000 years since that was. But it also tells the story about the robbers, the pirates. So, okay, I'm having a problem here with the gimbal. Okay, here you go. So I'm going to show you this here to the right hand side, Reykjavik. That's where the robbers or the pirates came here, 1627. Yeah, we tend to the French also, Joel, of course. Hopefully we're just getting started, Barbara, with enough support, and then my wife will allow me to do this, continue to do this. So, yeah. Yeah, I have to remember that I'm with a delayed comment system, so sometimes I'm commenting out of context, so to speak. So we're gonna stop here a little bit later here on. We're gonna overlook Reykjavik, or the Robbers Peak. Sometimes I'm finding the English words as we go. Sorry about that. Sorry. I think we can go all the way. So that's the Robbers Peak. So in 1627 there were 3 ships full of pirates that came here all the way to Iceland to basically attack, and they went to a couple of places here in Iceland to the east, and a place called Grindavik. But here they arrived on the 1627th, and they decided to not go for the harbor because of the cannons that were situated over there, but they went over here. Let's stop over here. That's beautiful. So, like 300 people, 300 pirates. At the time, there were only about 500, 600 people living on the island. And they went into 3 groups, and they attacked the town below. They enslaved about 240, so half of the population of the island. They killed about 40 people, 36 I believe. And then they went with them, the slaves, to the Algiers. I think it's still, yeah. So there was a big rescue mission. They let one of the priests, Ólafur Egilsson, go so he could basically get a ransom for the slaves, and he wrote a book about this experience, and he went back to the Westman Islands, and they raised money here in Iceland and Norway and Denmark, and finally they got about 39 people or something like that out of enslavement, and bought their freedom, so to speak. So let's go. So of course, you can imagine half of the population of the islands were taken, so it had a big impact on these islands. It's always been a vital fishing, so it's one of the most noteworthy places. They were always talking about that this was one of the places that, well, they could export fish here for centuries. So that's the black beach over there. Sometimes they release the small puffins over there in that beach. I actually have a video of that. So if you go back on my timeline, in September, then you'll see us releasing a couple of puffins. Friends are out of the docks. We're probably going to drop it again a little bit here. There are a couple of transmitters on top of a mountain that we don't see now, and yeah, they lose signal here too. Yeah, sorry about that, John. Lost signal because yeah, there are a couple of dark spots we have here, so we can't. I can't do anything about that. I don't have a satellite transmitter to be able to do this live feed without hiccup. Yeah, sorry about the signal, guys. Like I told you earlier in the beginning of this video, there are a couple of dark spots on the island which we can't do anything about. They are totally without signal. Yes, there are sheep here. I don't think we're going to check them out now. But yeah, there are sheep now, but they are mostly inside their pens or as it's in the middle of winter. There's just about 4.5 hours of daylight right now. The sun rose at 11:19 today and went down about 15:29. So of course there's a little bit of dusk, but it's mostly just, it's not very bright, so to speak. Well, it's good to hear about the quality. Like I said, I only have a phone and a gimbal and a lavalier mic, so it's a pretty simple setup. So I'm just really happy that it's possible to do this kind of online experiences with you, just without too much of too much work. I bought actually a bigger camera and a bigger gimbal and whatever, and but it's a little bit of a, yeah, it's harder to implement that. When it's driving so fast, doesn't that affect you guys? Does it feel disorienting or? It helps that I also have like a gimbal, like it helps me with stabilization. Maybe if you haven't seen it, I recorded a video of the church, or of the graveyard, sorry, last night or 2 days ago, and it's a really nice Christmas custom to decorate the graves in Iceland. That's the college that I went to when I was 16 to 19. College of Westman Islands. And that's the Holy Mountain. That's like the older mountain that's been here since 10,000 years ago, if I remember correctly. And then we have the fiery mountain over there. So we are gonna check out the small airports on the island. Then I'm gonna tell you about a short story about incredible survival of a sailor here. And then we're gonna head off to the museum to check out the museum here about the eruption. Well, it's great to hear. I feel like you're just in the back seat here. I'm just talking to old friends and explaining what's around them, showing my old hometown. I'm forgetting a lot of stuff. It's sometimes when you're live, you're naked. Yeah. So maybe I'll need to have like another phone attached to the gimbal or something like that so I can look at notes, or yeah. Let's go to the left over here. That's a small airport station. So if you land here with a small plane, it's a remarkable experience because, yeah, there's not a lot of landing area. So it was quite some feat actually. Back when they arrived here with Keiko, they had a big transport airplane moving him here, and yeah, it's a short runway. So it's actually quite a feat. And then at the end of the runway, maybe you'll see it a little bit later on, it's just a sheer cliff. So yeah, there's not a lot of space for mistakes. Yes, you see it over the end? Yeah, it's good to explore on your own, but it's also good to get the backstory. You look at a rock and you don't know anything about that, but when you get told that there are elves living there, that's another story. So in 1984, like so are you yeah, we I forgot to mention the second dark spot that we had. We just arrived there. We are behind this mountain over here, the Holy Mountain, and it's causing us to be we're having unstable connection because we're behind the path. So that's the end of the runway. So there was a boat that perished here like 1984, and 5 sailors on board, and they were like 6 kilometers out from the 12. Okay. So guys, are you? Uh-oh. So we are driving the wrong way here. Yes, okay, I'm gonna retell the story. Sorry. Are you okay now? See, looks like it. I have an extra phone here too. So, 1984, a ship perished and 5 sailors on board. This was in the middle of winter, 12th of December, and one of the guys got stuck in the boat, and there were 3. There were 4 guys they were on the keel, or 3 guys. Doesn't matter. But so eventually, they the captain of the ship decides to swim for it. Like I said, it's 5.6 kilometers from the island, and another guy called Guðlaugur, 24-year-old young boy, decided to swim with him, and they swam, and eventually they were calling to each other to basically to confirm that they were still alive, until finally Guðlaugur stops hearing the calls of his friend. And he swims and he swims and he swims for 5 to 6 hours until he finally arrives here at these rocks. And you can imagine in the middle of winter in Iceland, he's swimming it's just remarkable that he didn't basically just freeze and die. And when he comes to these lava fields over here, and being like he is, he didn't like the entrance point that he came at, so he basically swam out a little bit further out and found another entrance point. So that's to remember that feat. And then finally, after he landed ashore, he walked barefooted on the lava field here. It took him 3 hours to walk, and obviously he cut up his legs severely badly. But after about 9 hours of 6 hours out to swimming from the sea, and then 3 hours just trying to get to the town, he arrived in the middle of the night and knocked at the door of the nearest house here. Just imagine the life force or the will to live. The movie is called The Deep, Djúpið. Djúpið, The Deep. It was released 2012, and yeah, it tells this story about this. They put him onto test because nobody believed that he could survive for 6 hours in the middle of the middle Atlantic Ocean, and he had like a kind of like a seal fat, because it basically isolated him from the coldness, so it helped him survive. So we're driving here in the middle of we're probably going to be unstable again. Yeah, he was the only survivor of the 5 guys. And of course, a little bit traumatized. He was talking to himself, and he was talking to the gulls, and he managed to follow a star when he switched from backstroke to breaststroke, and when he was on his back, he managed to just follow the star when he was looking up, and he was talking to the gulls like they were his friends, and yeah, it's a remarkable story. Yeah, it's a true story. Yeah, he had well, he was basically special. He had like a thicker layer of fat underneath his skin that helped him survive. But of course, also like a mental strength. He could have given up so many times, and he lost his way. It's just incredible, the will to live. He was thinking about who he owed money, and they've been trying to the mountain, but yeah, it takes a lot of time before it's able to. So they are, planting seeds here in the side of the mountain, trying to, because of course when it's windy, really windy, there can be like an ash storm, like a small dust covering the island. He's still alive, yes, Lisa. Guðlaugur is still alive. So now we're going to check out the museum. I think it's a really cool museum that you should definitely put on your list when you eventually arrive here. I just heard news yesterday that the COVID medicine is probably going to be a little bit later to arrive here in Iceland than we hoped for. So I'm not overly optimistic about a lot of travel here until maybe middle of next year, to be honest. Maybe if you have a vaccine papers or something like that. I'm not sure. So that's the museum. So they built this museum around one of the houses that went under the lava field here. And it's quite a, I really like this modern museum. It's quite cool. And you can actually see how basically ash covered everything. So I'm gonna go outside now. Can you imagine 3 a.m. Just a rift opens up just on the field, just by the nearest houses. You know, it's unbelievable that the rift didn't just open up in the middle of a house, but fortunately it's an unbelievable story that. So 3 a.m. they just, there was a volcanic eruption on the Westman Islands, and people woke up to these great fires, like a line of fire on the islands. And unfortunately there was bad weather the day before, and all the boats of this fishing town were in the harbor. So everybody rushed to the harbor, and we managed to flee over to Iceland. There was just one person that lost his life during the volcanic eruption, and it's just amazing when, if you look at how close to the actual town it is. This is actually one of the houses that went under the lava, and they didn't dig it up until just when they opened up this museum over here. So they have these displays here, and you can discover some of the items, because people just left in a hurry. Of course, they were just rushing to they were just rushing. I'm not sure if you catch this. Yeah, okay. So they were just rushed out with the most valuable things and left the rest. And you can see some like items like silver bowl over here. It shows the silver bowl here in the ash. So so you see it here on the display, but I'm going to show it to you inside the house also. So when they excavated this, they asked the woman that lived here if they could keep it like it was. And she said yes. She was okay with not taking her belongings, because of course they were her belongings, or hers and her family. But so they had this house like intact, like it just went under the ash. And the house that I lived in, raised in, was also under ash. But they just dug it up. Are you still here? I'm thinking if I'm disconnected or... So I'm just thinking, is it? Are you still with me here? I'm not sure if the connection here is okay. Maybe I should switch to the Wi-Fi before I start here. I'm gonna walk a little bit here. I'm gonna start this again. Svanur. Er ég ennþá í sambandi?
Þú varst það, þú varst inn.
Ha.
Þú varst það, þú varst inn.
Sorry about that. I just lost the disconnection. Oh, okay. I'm okay. I've lost the feed because I don't see any comments or anything like that. I'm sorry about that. So, I got a little bit scrambled there. So I have the comments over here. Never lost you. Okay, we're still here. Okay. So, start again. Eldheimar, the fire museum. I thought I lost you because my system kind of like just froze. So I don't see any comments, anything like that. Extra fun. Again, like I told you earlier, you can look at some of the items over here from the house and just navigate to the item that you're. So I'm going to show. So what do we have here? What do we want to see? I'm going to focus here. We have baby food. Okay, cancel baby food's over there. Baby food. So it's a nice, they call it the Pompeii of the North because they're actually thinking about excavating more houses here for this. But I think it's a beautiful, beautiful museum. They were a little bit afraid about the collapse of the house. Yeah, a little bit frustrating this that the software froze, but that, you know, whatever. So can you imagine that 3 a.m., you know, just a volcanic eruption, lava field. This is just like, we're talking about maybe, what are we, 300 meters from the volcano? Something like that. And like I said, 1/5 of the houses here on the Westman Islands went under the lava. About 400 houses, at least. No, yeah, about 400 houses. So this is the island before the second volcano erupted. So you see, there's no volcano over here, and the harbor is much smaller. The harbor over here is much smaller. So the island grew about 2 square kilometers. You see here where we're looking at the place where the belugas are. So the lava reaches much further, closer to Istiklettur and the cliffs over there. Yeah, here you see it very clearly. So we were over here, so the lava field reaches all the way over here. And that's, they were trying to guard that, this natural harbor or port. So that's why they used the water. They were trying to make sure, make the island survive, because without fishing, I think Westman Islands would shut. And that's where I was talking about the cliff rappelling earlier, sprangan. So to practice and you would do this before you went to the bigger cliffs to catch some eggs and stuff like that. Here are some beautiful puffins, some old houses, a lot of fishing. Yeah, I see that in the comment section that they are still spamming. I have to find a way to deal with those guys. So then the big volcanic eruption happened. 3 a.m. Can you imagine just in the middle of the night being awoken to small quakes and just growth? I think this is really cool. One of the interactive things about this museum. And then we turn the wheel here. See the fissure, see where it's opened. You know, here's the town and just right. This happened on 1973. Yeah, I've tried to report these spammers also, but you see how fast it grew. I'm not gonna show it all, but you know, it basically tells the story, and you know, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Should stop using that word. Too much. Too much. I like this display. It's really beautiful over here. So like beautiful, taking pictures and. Oh, all of a sudden the comment field came again. That's the harbor when the lava was spewing into the harbor. No, I had, about the museum, I had made arrangement, of course. No, the museum is not free. I don't remember, it's not much, it doesn't cost much. I had, of course, talked with the museum and explained what I was doing, and so this was not a total surprise for them. I didn't just walk in and so the volcanic eruption lasted for about 6 months until the 3rd of July, if I remember it correctly, and people started moving back like after a year, and they started to rebuild. But at the time there were about 5,000 people that lived on the island. But it's only 4,200 people, only about 4/5 of the population came back. So obviously people, some people were afraid of moving back to a place where you could basically get a volcano underneath your home. Here they are digging up the graveyard. Maybe you've seen the picture I took, no, but yeah, they're digging up the ash over there. You see here the house is all covered in ash. Yeah, sorry for the quick turn. So Iceland is a very very active volcanic. There are about 30 volcanic systems on the island, and they basically split up the island from the southwest and until we reach the northeast. So that's the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates. Iceland is growing by 2 centimeters per year because we are basically drifting apart. If it wouldn't be for all the volcanic activity, we would basically just be 2 islands probably in a while. But I want to talk about this one also, Surtsey, or the island of Surtur. Surtur is the fire god that is one of the guys responsible for Ragnarök in the Old Norse mythology. So there was basically a volcanic eruption under the sea in 1963, like 10 years before the Westman Island. And all of a sudden there appeared an island under out of the sea. And this is a protected island today, so it's a natural reserve because they are just watching how plants and animals basically, colonize this island without the influence of man. So you have to get special permit to be able to visit this island. And here you can see that basically the activity of the volcanic. So it goes from the southwest to the northeast, the mid-Atlantic ridge. So can you imagine just the island appearing out of the sea here? It was all over the world news, of course. They've been talking about doing a tunnel from Iceland to Westman Islands, which I would love, but the main argument against it is that the volcanic activity here. Yeah, there are pretty often earthquakes, not very strong, usually not very strong, but once every 100 years there's a like a 6 on Richter. These pictures are taken from the island, and they took also the audio recording from the seagulls and Hi Tavi. Yes, climate change has for sure impacted Iceland. We can see that the glaciers are receding faster than ever. We can see them basically every year getting smaller and smaller, and we can see our weather is changing quite a lot. Here's like all kinds of lava rock. Yeah, maybe check that out. So, do you see this? Okay, we start with the blank, and then I'm moving it slowly. Let's see what happens. Yeah, there's a hotspot activity. Yeah, we have a super volcano here underneath the biggest glacier of Europe, called Vatnajökull, or the water glacier. And yeah, so that's a hotspot or a mega volcano, or similar like in Yellowstone in America. And so we had these two tectonic plates that are still constantly rubbing together, and they cause, of course, friction and volcanic activity, and yeah, some earthquakes. So guys, I'm gonna leave you now soon. This took a lot longer than I thought. I thought it would be maybe an hour, but yeah, I have a lot to talk about and tell you about, and this is one of my favorite photos. I live and you shall live. So yeah, maybe a thing to keep in mind during COVID. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. I will be back on Sunday at 3 p.m. for Christmas in Iceland in the old days. And then we have a repeat of our Christmas walking tour. Hi guys. Yeah, the Christmas walking tour again on Sunday at 4 p.m. And then I'm going to do a joint walking tour with guides from Paris and St. Petersburg and Bucharest, I believe. So Christmas in 4 different countries. So it's going to be fun. Also at 5 p.m. on Sunday. So you have a busy next couple of days for you, live streaming, traveling to Iceland and Paris and more, just via your armchair. So have fun. Tack.